Low on oil, but we're on a hillside. That seems like a liability that's hitting that hitch when it's down, because that's how it runs. Anyways, I checked the hydraulic oil sight glass on this tractor yesterday and it was pretty low. It's back in there, covered in dust. So you're just gonna have to take my word for it. Don't know why it's low, but I'm gonna put some in it. It's unfortunate that I know where this is because I've blown a hydraulic line or two on this tractor. How many glugs should I do? 20 glugs in it, 1 glug on the back of the tractor. It's better than I usually do. Ah, that's about right. We'll give it a couple more for good measure. We've got quite a few fields of beans that are going to plant today, and unfortunately, most of the ones that we have first on our list are not Pioneer beans that we're picking up directly from our salesman. What that means is we need to get the backhoe away from the bin, cleaned up, and back on seed loading duty.
Well, if you and I can push this out or not.
There's a will, there's a way. Shoot. I got it. That's good. Our backup camera is nice. What are we doing on fuel? Yeah, pretty good. Let's go load this tender up. Whoop, whoop. Maybe it was just wishful thinking of me, but I'd envisioned that I was gonna show up with the seed tender, pull right under the conveyor, and be loading within a minute. However, it doesn't look like we're even halfway to that kind of progress yet. You never know how the morning's gonna start. We need about 166 units. Does that sound right? How many's Lenore? 75?
70.
So we're gonna need 3 boxes of 45, which is 135. Then we're gonna need about 25 bags at least. We just finished loading up some Don Mario 3756E Enlist soybeans. I'm running expedited right now because Marty's trying to get corn in his tender and he's about to run me off the driveway. We've planted these 3.7 Don Mario beans, a late Group 3 bean, for 2 years now, and they've been phenomenal. They were the first Enlist soybean that we tried, the Don Mario brand, sold in service by Burris Seed out of Orensville, as my sweatshirt advertises. And like I said, we've been extremely happy with them. Great yielders, and they've always performed up to par with all of our other genetics, especially on the ground we've planted them, because as of yet, we've not put them on tremendous farm ground, and they've still had great yields. I'm going to do my best to get as much done as possible today because we actually have a fairly good forecast. It was cool this morning at 36 degrees, but the high is 70. No clouds in the sky, and the sun shining. Let's get these beans loaded up. I don't have a ton of experience with other seed tender brands. We have an Unverfirth, and of course we had a gravity wagon at one point in time with an auger attached to it. That was always a joy to run. But there is no way anyone makes nicer seed tender than J&M. That thing is the bee's knees. Coming through. Probably would have been just as easy just to back up, but backing up's overrated. You guys hear that hissing sound? From that area somewhere. Which would make sense because my airbags were not wanting to hold pressure last night, or at least only like 80 or 90% of the set point. I'm gonna unfold this and see if I can patch that leak. Somewhere in here I should have some plumber's tape. Every tractor, combine, anything with a line on it needs this. Where are you? Wow, that was the quickest I've ever found something. Just a downforce line. That's not exactly how you fix an air leak, and it's not necessarily fixed by any means. A John Deere mechanic would replace the line. I don't have a line and I'm trying to plant beans, so this is how it's gonna run until we get a new line. And I can tell you right now, we're not gonna get a new line on there until it rains. As long as the air compressor can outcompete the leak, we shouldn't have any issues. It wasn't doing that last night. I had my downforce set at 240 pounds. It was maintaining about 190, but it was telling me or alarming me that it was low. Figured out why. We are westbound, and as a matter of fact, the corn planter is going to be over here as well. So we're going to get all this ground knocked out, maybe move back home, I don't know. Regardless, driving down the road, especially a bumpy road with a fully loaded planter, that's an interesting time. Can't be good on anything, myself included. Jeff gonna make me pull over? Nope, doesn't look like it. Like he's headed to the south somewhere. Eating through the acres with a big field cultivator and tractor. Corn planter. And here's our stop. Right next door. Time for some Don Mario 3756E Enlist soybeans to go in the ground. 2 planters getting after it. Let's go today. Never mind, my fix did not work at all for that air system, as you can see by the red 100 and my Dole of 240. If anything, it did the opposite of work. It might have made it worse, which makes no sense, but that's what it's looking like. Chris is here with the line though. I wasn't gonna put it on, but I guess I don't have a choice. Mission failed. The line that they sent was about half the size of diameter that we needed. I will check my depth though. It'd be a little deeper, and it probably would be deeper if, in fact, my airbags were fully aired up. That downforce does play a pretty crucial role in seed to soil contact, keeping the row unit down, especially across rough, cloudy soil like we have here. Okay, temporary solution. We're gonna run these babies way up. Get our money's worth out of the air compressor. Will it work? I don't know. I wasn't concerned last night because it was running closer to 200 pounds. I mean, it wasn't keeping up by any means, but the leak must have gotten worse. What concerns me now, though, is that my row units are going to be hopping out of the ground, but I also want to be planting. So I'm going to walk across here, make sure we have good contact, nothing's hopping out too aggressively. Worst case scenario, I drop the seed in the ground another notch or two. It'll kind of overcompensate for the lack of downforce with added depth. Gives us a little more room for error. About an inch in the ground, we're in the moisture. I think we're just gonna plant them like that. In the last 50 steps, I changed my mind. We're gonna go half hole deeper just to be safe. Improvise, adapt, overcome, and do a slightly worse job than normal. Show off. Already done with this field. Well, I'll be here slaving away for another couple hours. Thankfully, Chris is here to save the day for the second time, and hopefully the last time, because the first time wasn't correct. Thank you. All right. I'm not exactly sure how the duct tape made this worse. Oh. I figured out if you press it in and then pull it, you don't have to pull it out so aggressively. That would have been rather nice to know beforehand. I would like to know how that tape wouldn't hold an air leak, but would stay stuck to this tire for 30 acres that I picked up back at home. I'm impressed with this and disappointed with that. just finishing up these 3 fields over to the west. We're moving back home. We've got 3 smaller fields that are still going to be planted with these Don Mario 37 beans. And then we'll be on to greener pastures after that. Everything went smoothly here except for 1 unit was planting kind of low. Fortunately, we're not trying to land on the moon. We're just scattering some soybeans an inch in the ground. So, perfection is fleeting. Wasn't looking for that. Just on the other side of that ridge, I can see the corn planter running. Looks like he crossed our land bridge successfully because he is planting and not twisted it in 2. Home we go. Life's less stressful when you just let the seed tender pass you. Must be taking more corn to the planter. I was gonna go straight to the next field and start planting and run out of seed relatively shortly, but seeing as my seed tender man is taking corn to the other planter, I guess I'm just gonna go ahead and load here. I might sit here in the air conditioning for a while. I need to take this sweatshirt off. It's a warm one. All right. Someone, and I'm assuming it was my dad, has really done me a disservice here because the scale is supposed to zero out at 0, but for some reason he zeroed it out at 900, probably when he took over loading in that other field. And as a result, I've got 1 tank stuffed to the brim, the other tank 2/3 of the way full, so I'm gonna go ahead and shuffle them over. I've learned from experience that the best time to do this is while both tanks are still full, as opposed to trying to do it once one's empty and the other one's almost empty. Just so you can understand my predicament. Not that full, stuffed full. Not that full, stuffed full. Solution, bucket. It's gonna have to do for now. It's hard to really know how much I needed to move. Guess we'll know when I run out. On to the next one. We're much closer to home now, just a mile east of the main farm, but we're on a completely different soil type than where we just came from. This is a less productive, more marginal acre versus the more productive soil we were planting earlier. This 37 Don Mario bean is a go-anywhere, high-yielding bean that shouldn't struggle with the difference in soil type. However, we're going to make a few changes to our agronomic plan. First and foremost, because this is a more marginal soil, we're going to increase our population because we're assuming not as many of these seeds are going to come up successfully and hedge our bet by having more seeds out there. Now, we're not going to make a major jump. We might add 5,000 or 10,000 plants per acre, but that could have a significant impact on our early standability and our overall yield, and hopefully not require me coming back here to replant these. I'm just going to do a quick jump from 155 to 160. That's all we're doing. Nothing complicated. I don't have any fancy sensors to tell me when I'm primed. I got to use my eyes to see those seeds dropping out of the row units. Not gonna lie, that spot snuck up on me. I was just spinning my way out of it. I probably got 3 or 4 row units plugged up now. When I said that this farm was a marginal soil type, that wet spot is not exactly what I was talking about, but these soils tend to stay wetter. A lot more clay content, which holds moisture, doesn't dry as fast. Our darker farms, a lot of times, do get very wet and stay wet, but they dry quicker once it warms up. This clay stuff, though, doesn't usually do that. Another thing we want to keep an eye on in this ground is that we're not putting the seeds in super deep. This ground has a tendency to get very hard on top, seal over, and form a concrete, so to speak, when it either gets wet or gets extremely hot. And these soybeans are not the greatest at breaking through that crust. And you can see right there, we're over 1.5 inches in the ground. That's way too deep. So I'm gonna pull these out 2 full pegs. In almost every aspect you can think of, less productive farms like this one are worse in so many different characteristics than some of our lower lying black dirt. It stays wet, it doesn't warm up as fast, it doesn't hold as many nutrients. It's just all in all not as good of a place to grow a crop. The only thing that ground like this beats ground like that is that it's cheaper. Less productive ground is not worth as much. That dark ground out there in the middle that can produce very high yielding corn, it might be worth $15,000 or $16,000 an acre right now, versus this lighter farm here on the hill could be closer to 10, maybe 11. The land market's a little bit out of whack right now. Everything's going for extremely high prices. I'm almost certain that you can see the diversity of soil just by looking on the camera. Here's where we're going to be working. As we go west and get closer to our farm, you can see the very rich soil. It's darker. It's also drier. We're sitting on a hill here. That's a little lower, just so you can visualize it. I'm actually curious if any of this corn has sprouted yet. I would think after being in the ground for close to 5 days, some of it would be at least thinking about putting a root on. You can see on the tip of it, it's starting to put a tiny little root on. We'll put you back in there, buddy. Good luck. See, that spot right there is normally wet, but it's dry compared to that other end that's not normally wet. So I wonder if there's a tile issue over there. This is definitely the worst field I've been in so far this year in terms of seedbed quality. It's very obvious that we worked a little bit on the wet side. Sometimes this light soil, though, does need to be broke open like that to get it to dry out. That being said, a field like this is exactly why we installed those spiked closing wheels on the soybean planter. Even in conditions like this, those wheels should be helping close the trench a little bit better than just our rubber system. Just to give you an idea, if it was the first week of April, I probably wouldn't plant this field. We're getting close to May though, and the soybeans are not going to grow in the bag, and it's one of our closer fields to being dry, so hey, might as well put it in the ground. We can replant it at the end of May. What comes up will have a good start. The rest, just will help it along. We finished that field up without getting stuck, so I'll count that as a victory. Looks like all of our seed trenches close fine too, so really no worries. Now that right there, folks, is what I call a close call. Wow. It's old school. We haven't run fuel cultivators with these in probably 15 plus years. I'll put it right here by the corner post, that way no one will touch it. It probably wouldn't have punctured the tire. However, it's not really something you want to take a chance on and find out. The planter was still planting kind of low, and I looked back, and I was only running about 10 on here, and I'd rather be 15 to 20, so I was going to come back, spin the wheel up, and then I figured out what my problem was. I got a big hole right here. That would explain why I don't have enough seed going to the units. It was just enough of a hole to get my population a little bit down, but not enough to keep me from planting. So my tape might actually come in handy today. I think about this, I'm just going to run it. Okay, we are about 16 on that gauge. It hasn't blown out yet, so maybe that'll help with our seed delivery. I don't know that that was all of our problem, but it was definitely some degree of the problem. Unfortunately, I've been summoned to help with a different problem. One wheel? I've never tried. I mean, I don't see why you couldn't. Well, in an unplanned turn of events, I've taken over the corn planter, lacking one wing wheel, which shouldn't be an issue because the gauge wheels are really what set the depth and carry the load through the field. As we were taking that tire off, Dad got a call from Jeff, and the 9620 is making some kind of a clunky noise. So I'm gonna run the corn planter, the bean planter is gonna sit, and Dad's gonna go fix that stuff. You all right out there, buddy? By no means am I a master mechanic, but I don't think that an air compressor, regardless of how small or large, would have aired that tire up. It was off the rim, so either he hit something and completely blew it all at once, or that was a slow leak that kind of snuck up on him, and then by the time he realized it, it was too late, air was gone, it was off the rim. If that was the case, it could be related to the field I planted yesterday, the tornado field. Hopefully not, but anything's possible. Look how good this hybrid's planting. 99.5, 0.4, 0.6% singulation, running 10.6. This kind of is what I was talking about yesterday. Different hybrids have different dimensions, and this planter enjoys some of them more than others. Do I dare try and grab another gear? Definitely power limited at this point. We're running 12.3, 12.6, 99.6% singulation on the monitor. It actually went up to 99.7 when I sped up. I don't know how that's even possible, but it's performing better the faster you go. Well, the only thing we're lacking now is horsepower. We do not have enough to go 14th gear. A smidge over 10 mile an hour with this planter, 60 foot wide, that's a little over 70 acres per hour. If we had the power to pull at 12 or 13, I mean, we'd be getting close to 100. Row 19 isn't planting. Always gotta have a troublemaker in the bunch. Well, I didn't solve much. They're seeing the tank, seeing the unit, brush looks good. I guess we'll back it up, put it in the ground, and try and plant some more and see if it plants. Nothing. I'll do it right there. Vacuum hose is off. Interesting predicament. It's a real fun one to get back on too. There we go. I know for a fact that was the issue, because the vacuum hose is literally essential for the seed to get pulled against the plate, be delivered to the brush, and then to the ground. Without the vacuum hose attached, you have no vacuum, so you have no planting. Back up a little bit and try this again. Oh, there we go. Now 19's cooperating. Who'd have thunk it? Oh, we got the neighbors out playing too. Only takes one person to lead the pack. Someone needs to bring their tuner over here and juice up this 8310R. 14th gear is definitely beyond our capabilities, but this lighter dirt and a little bit of a downslope makes it possible. Running 12.5. Planter's falling off a little bit, 99.5%, 99.6. We'll take it, 99.7. That's absolutely cooking through the field. That's perfect timing right there. Alrighty, everything is slowly returning to normal. I've learned a few things since I was gone. That 1775 NT planter can in fact limp through the field with only one wing tire. Additionally, they must not make tractor wheel weight bolts as strong as they used to, because Jeff said that one of the wheel weight bolts on that 9620R broke. So the wheel weight was like bumping around in there. We've had that other 9460R for, I don't know, probably 10 years, 11 years now. It's got wheel weights on it. They've never once broke. I find that fascinating. Now I gotta reprime the planter. But we're gonna finish this up, switch to some flex beans. A nice dusty evening to lead us into the night of a somewhat productive day. As we speak, we are finishing up this field, which will be the last of the Don Mario 37 beans. They are loading up an Asgrow 4.0 Extend Flex bean. We're planning an enlist now. We're going to an Extend Flex, so when we finish this field, we want to make sure our row units are empty, and then we're going to have to dump our tanks, get the beans out. That way we don't have cross-contamination, resulting in these 3.7s dying when we spray dicamba on the other beans that are tolerant to that product. Corn planter shut down for the night. We've really kind of caught up with our dry ground. A lot of it's still too wet. Field cultivator broke down as well, which doesn't really help our cause. We're going to plant one more field and call it a night. We're close to the finish line of this field, unless we run out of seed, which would not be surprising. Last pass. Didn't need to add any bags. I just moved from one to the other because I had a lot more in that one, which probably has something to do with that calibration issue I mentioned to you guys that someone didn't have the seed tender zeroed right. With the end about a couple hundred yards away, I'm going to let off the hydraulic pressure on my one SCV lever. That one puts the planter up and down, but when it's locked down and the planter's down, it spins that seed fan. So we want that fan shut off, no beans going from the tank to the units, and hopefully, when I get to the end, my row units are about out of beans. Well, maybe after I get to the end, they're out of beans. That's what I'm aiming for. The tanks can be dumped pretty efficiently. The row units, though, are a kind of a pain to dump if you don't get them empty this way. Shouldn't have to worry about the population in that spot. That's an understatement. We're gonna stop here at the main farm for one last fill up for the night, hopefully. We're only going a mile to the south of the plant, but it's just easier to do it here. A lot more room to work with, turn around. Home field advantage, I guess.
Get real close.
Come a little closer. All right, that's good. Now turn right a little bit. Yeah, just keep going straight like that. Seed tanks are loaded, should be enough to plant the last field. I can't tell if that's starting to break away. It is. I'm gonna give another wrap of tape on that. All right, here's to hoping that that holds because I'm about out of tape. It is next to impossible to beat the service that Nutrient gives us out here. I mean, we call and they're out spraying. I think they got 2 sprayers running on us right now. Spraying a little bit of corn ground, but a lot of soybean ground that we need to get a residual herbicide on. Don't need to burden them because we cultivated everything we planted. It also helps to get the residual applied ahead of a rain because most residual products like to have some moisture to fully activate within the soil. Here's our stop. Right south of the farm, about a mile. We've got a 65-acre field of beans to plant. The last of our Asgrow 40XF1 XtendFlex 4.0 bean. Latest season bean we're planting. But they're supposedly extremely high yielding. All right, and the units. Let's knock this field out. Every acre done before this rain is one less acre we got to worry about after the rain. Every night I've been turning the brightness down of these 2 monitors so I can run a little bit later in the night without turning my lights on. I personally feel like my natural vision is better than my vision with artificial light involved. Except for the fact that I shut down for the night. In the morning I start the tractor up and I can barely see either of these screens, and I have to get as close as possible and figure out if I remember exactly how to turn the brightness up. Because if I don't, I won't be able to use the monitors. It's gonna be a late night for me. Got a couple hours of planning here left to do. Then I gotta go home and edit a video, finish that up, get it uploaded, so tomorrow you guys can watch it live, 9 or 10 o'clock, whatever time I upload it. That'll be up Thursday. So these videos do run kind of far behind, and I've only been doing 2 per week just to lessen the workload and make sure I consistently have videos to upload. When it rains for 4 or 5 days next week, I won't have to make up content to keep you guys satisfied. I already have videos from this week to slowly feed across them. Planting in the dark. I am planting in the dark. Lenny's coming for his nightly tractor driving lesson. He gets real excited. Big tractor guy. Wow, the moisture has really come up out here. It almost looks like I'm planting into the mud. On the bright side, our green tape is holding up much better on our seed fan line than it did on our pressurized air line for our downforce. Just like that, we're finished up, and we didn't run out of seed. It's our lucky night. Finally headed home for the night. Other than a few snafus here and there with a variety of different equipment and requiring a variety of repairs. Can't complain about today. We got some seeds in the ground. Hopefully they'll get started growing when we get this rain. Some of them were planted in some conditions that probably will require some rain to help even out that seed bed and make sure that those seeds are nice and moisturized so they can germinate fully, emerge, have no problems. Home sweet home. For the second night in a row, we're gonna end up at the fuel barrel so we can top it off in the morning. We used about a half tank of diesel fuel running today. Not too shabby. Alrighty folks, we've got quite a bit more work to get done to wrap up this planting season. We're not even close to finished actually. We've got rain moving in, so we're gonna try to capitalize on tomorrow, get a good day of running, hopefully no breakdowns, and then we'll see what happens after the rain. It's a pretty common theme this year and last fall, and really just dealing with Mother Nature, you never know what you're gonna get. I am grateful for the opportunities that we've had to get some crops in the ground. They should be off to a great start. That being said, I think this is more than enough farming for one video. I'm exhausted and I need to go edit a video to get it uploaded. I do appreciate you all tuning in. Make sure you like the video, subscribe if you want to see more, and comment down below if you have any questions. You know I love talking about farming. Have a great day, everyone. Peace!